Hi YouTubers, this is Bruce with Blowing Snow for Fun, and I'm getting out my 2019 24-inch Platinum SHO, getting ready for winter. We're in the beginning of November and I just kind of started the process today. I'm behind the 8-ball. I usually have it ready by now. I'm out in the garage at night because I just kind of ran out of time working on leaves and things like that during the day. So I got a couple of things for you, and first of all, the auto turn on the Ariens machines. You know, you read people having trouble with it and complaining about it, and you don't see it much anymore. Saw it a lot more with the older machines. They've made a lot of improvements over the years, and it's really quite improved. But my Ariens guy, the guy that sold me my snowblower, told me it was extremely important to have both of your tires at exactly the same air pressure. And on the sidewall of the tire it says 20. He suggested 17. He said he found 17 to be the optimum. Now that's here in Wisconsin, and that's, you know, cold weather. But as far as if you're having problems with your auto turn or something doesn't seem quite right, first thing to check is always that tire pressure and make sure each one of those tires is exactly the same. Now I've got a tool I'd like to show you that I use. You know, kind of a gadget guy, I got a lot of tools, but I want to show you what I use to equalize the pressure in both of my tires and make sure it's the same. And I use it on my cars and my trucks, my vehicles up north, my boat trailer, my ATV, just about all my other stuff. And it really makes it easy to keep pressure up and things, and it is extremely accurate. So let me change the camera and I'll show you what I mean. So I always take the wheels off of my snowblower in the summertime and put it up on blocks. When I get when I move the camera over to where we'll be working, I'll show you what I mean, how I store it. I pulled it out of the corner, but I left it on the blocks so you could see it. And I have my tires here, and of course the rotation is marked on the side of the tire. And you always want to make sure when you install the tire that that arrow points towards the front of the machine so that it is gripping properly. Okay, so there's a diagram of that in the owner's manual. Now I have checked this tool that I have a rigid air gun. It's an 18 volt and it is extremely accurate, and that was one of the things I was looking for when I was looking for something portable. And this, you can use this portably, or you can plug it into your cigarette lighter in your vehicle. It comes with some tools attached to the top of it. The only thing I will tell you about it is when you're blowing something up like a truck tire and it's really got to run, the hose and the fitting get very hot. So be careful when you go to touch those. But it's got a real simple closure mechanism. You push it onto the valve and then you just simply slide it forward. And when you touch the trigger, it gives you a digital readout of exactly what's in that tire. Now it's saying 13 pounds of pressure in this one here, and I'm gonna kind of move it around a little bit so hopefully you can see. Now I'm gonna turn it up to 17, and it will automatically take it up to 17 and shut it off. Now that tire is at exactly 17 pounds of pressure. And I'll do the exact same thing on the other tire, and I know for a fact that they are right on. I have a really good tire gauge, and I've checked it with car and truck tires and ATV tires and things like that with a low pressure gauge that I have. And this thing is really accurate. It's very convenient. You can check to see how much charge is in the battery by simply pressing the button on the side. It's light. You can carry it in your vehicle. I get this at Home Depot. I paid, I think, $79 for it or something like that with the battery and the charger. And I carried along. Actually, I put it in the back of my wife's car. She uses it. She's got a tire that's losing some air right now, and occasionally she's got to put a little bit of air in. And it's so easy, even, you know, she likes to use it, which is fantastic. So I'll bring the other tire up here right now, and we will air that one up to 17 pounds, and then we'll go over and start working on the machine. And here's tire number 2. Take off the valve. was on, oops, and snapped on. And now we'll squeeze the trigger, and it should be still, we'll set it for 17. That's all there is. Now these two tires are at exactly 17 pounds PSI, and that's really nice. Now, when I got these tires out last year, I filled them up to 17, and one was at 11 and one was at 10, I think, when I took them out and checked them. Now they've been in the garage and sitting in the garage today. Right now in the garage, I'm guessing it's probably about between 45 and 50 degrees. So again, this rigid tool I got at Home Depot, and I'm really, really happy with this. This is really a nice tool to use. Let's go over and work on the machine. So you can see my snowblower parked in the corner over here. I just pulled it out. I had it tucked away. Turn this light off. And I keep the motor covered. Something that my father was very fussy about, and he wanted, anytime he had something parked over the winter or over the summer and it wasn't being used, he wanted a cover on it to keep the dust and the sand and salt spray and paint and sawdust and whatever else that went flying out of the internals on the machine. So it's something that I've kind of carried over with myself. And you can see that I put the back of the machine on a 4x4 and then a couple of pieces of cedar, and or 2x6 works as well. And then I also, under the front of the machine, I always put a couple of boards underneath the, and I have poly skids on there, under the poly skids, so my machine does not touch the ground in any way, manner, or form during the summer months. And that way the condensation that comes out of the concrete and comes off of my truck that's parked here on this side of the garage doesn't get on the floor and get wicked up into anything. It's up away from all that. So first thing we got to do is we got to put the wheels back on the machine. And so that's our next order of business here. And I've got my handy little Milwaukee light I'll turn on. Hopefully that'll add enough light to what we're doing here. And I'm going to do the tire on this side first. So I'll move it around just a little bit so that I can get to it. I have to move it forward slightly. There we go. And that should be good. All right, I checked the, I always put my locking clips over the winter time. I put them with a string and I run it through the hub, the axle hole on the tire, so that I don't lose them. Otherwise, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to come springtime and I'm going to be looking all over for for where it went. So we'll pick that up and put that there. Now we're going to lube this axle. I put a little bit of light lube on it in the spring, in April, when I got this thing out. And I like to use this Super Lube. It's a multi synthetic grease, and it's extremely good in low temperatures and high temperatures. Remains pliable. It's real easy to work with. It comes in a tube, and you can get it on YouTube, or you can get it at I think Ace Hardware handles it as well. So when we get down there, we'll put a little bit of Super Lube on that axle. Let me get behind the camera here and see, make sure you can. Here, we'll angle it down just slightly here. And what we're going to do is, before we start, we're going to get the key slot facing the top. And that's the other thing. I always put the keys in this plastic bag as well, so that when I go to get them out, and I need to put this back together, I've got an idea of where all my parts are at. So I've got the keys in here, and just pull it out so you can see what it looks like. And I take these down in the basement. This is twofold. Nobody can move the snowblower around and mess around with it in the summertime. And if there is a situation where someone compromises the security in my garage, And there's no wheels on the snowblower. Good luck carrying this thing because it's over 300 pounds. But that's what the key looks like. And it goes in the slot on the top of the axle. Lay it in the bag right here. And we're going to first start off putting some super lube in that slot. And then we're going to make sure that this axle is completely covered with super lube. There is a washer on the back side here, and I also like to get some lube on and around the bushing where it goes through. That's what they call the bushing nowadays. And I'll put a little behind the washer as well. This is a clear grease, so fairly easy to clean off of things. I'll get it on the back side of the screw as well there. Okay. And my next step is to take the key, pick it up, and make sure I've got that greased. I've still got enough grease on my fingers here. And I'm going to lay that key right in that slot. And if you put it on the top like that, this is much easier procedure to do. Because if it's not on the top, it becomes difficult to line up. So let's see. This is towards the top of the machine. Now when you put these tires back on, the axle will move a little bit from side to side in there. So I always take them, and you can see where the notch is at the top of the tire. And again, if you don't do this, if you don't lubricate these axles, I've got a lot of older snowblowers. Some of them I inherited. And man, I'll tell you what, every single one of them needs something done on a tire eventually. And if there's nothing been done to this the entire life, oh man, it makes your life really miserable. You're down here, pounding and all kinds of stuff trying to get this a tire off of here when it eventually goes flat and you need to put a tube in there, or you need to replace the tire, or whatever the case might be. It's absolutely miserable. So it's really a good idea to do this. Now, if you are a person who doesn't like doing this kind of thing, and you say to yourself, you know what, I'm watching Bruce do this right now, but there's no way I'm going to do this on a yearly basis. So let's say you're only going to do this every 3 years or every 4 years or something like that. Then my advice to you would be, instead of using grease, use a anti-seize compound that you can brush on there. They make anti-seize compounds that are impervious to salt water, which is what you have to worry about in the winter, because every time you go to the end of the driveway, they treat that road with salt, and then it gets plowed up and it gets worked into everything, and that's where a lot of the corrosion occurs. So it's really, really important to, if you're going to use an anti-seize lubricant, to try to look for one. And anti-seize lubricant, comes in, there's many different manufacturers. I use Permatex, but there's a lot of them. And when I work on friends' snowblowers, and it's ones that, they ask me maybe once every 5 years if I can give them a hand fixing something or something like that, I always pull the rims off, and I always grease this. And I use that anti-seize lubricant. There's small beads of glass in the lubricant itself, so even if any corrosion occurs, it keeps the two metal surfaces from rust welding together, and it works really, really well. Okay, so I've got my notch on the top, and I can get you a better shot of this. Let's see if I can get you a better shot. All right, so here, I think I got a pretty good shot for you. You can see the key on the top here and the notch on the top of the rim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the rim on here, and I'm going to feel for where that notch is. And then I'm going to put my thumb on top of the key and then spin it until I can feel it go in, and then hold it in place as I slide the tire on. And then once I get it on all the way, then I can take the clip and I can push the clip onto the outside here and snap it into place. And of course, it's really difficult for me to see anything because I've got all the light over there. I'm going to push this in so that that rim pops out on the other side. I'm going to go around, I'm going to do the same thing that I did over here on the other side, and then we'll go back to the preseason checks. Okay, so let's go around. I've got both tires on the machine right now. Let's go around and just do an inspection. And, you know, really, in the fall of the year, everything should just be a check. If you've done all your maintenance in the spring, changing your oil, lubing everything, then it should be very quick. You should be able to go through a few things and check them and make sure everything is good. Now, once every few years, you probably should go around the machine at some point, whether it's spring or fall, and just make sure no nuts and bolts and things like that have loosened up and screws, and just do a light tightening on everything. But so let's go and let's start. Last spring when we put it away, we greased the front axle. And so we're not going to have to do anything with that right now other than to check the gearbox and make sure that there's no fluid leaks or anything like that, and look for any mouse nests or any small animals. Or I remember one time I had a snowmobile stored at my father-in-law's house under a cover. I went to start it in the fall of the year, and it started and it died. I couldn't get the doggone thing started for anything, and I started pulling it apart. And I got to the point where the airbox, there's no air filter on a snowmobile, but the airbox was filled with dog food, and it absorbed all the gas, and it just choked all the oxygen out of the machine. But things like that happen when you park machines for part of the year. Okay, so again, now we make sure our clean out tool is located in the front here, and it's mounted in its normal position. We look at the chute and look for any rust or anything like that. We're going to try moving it in just a little while. We go around. Of course, we've checked our tires already. We checked the appearance of our skids. And from the front here, we just make a quick view of our scraper bar. It's kind of hard to see here in the dark garage at night, but it looks like it's nice and level to me. I can check it if I think it needs to with a paint stick on each end. That's what I like to use to set it. And I had any spot that the paint was gone off of that scraper bar, I took fluid film and sprayed it on over the summer so that there's no rust that's formed. And again, we're going to take a look at the sides and make sure. Mice like to get in here around the exhaust system. I don't know why, but I have an old Toro up north, and occasionally I'll start it up in the spring, and pieces of cardboard and insulation will go flying. So you got to kind of be careful in this area right here. And then of course we have, we're going to check our oil when we go to start the machine. We're not going to start it today because it's nighttime right now, and if I take the machine outside, you're not going to be able to see that much. Of course, there's lights in the garage and things like that, but we'll wait till tomorrow to do that. So we're moving around the back of the machine right now, and we're going to look at all our controls. It looks like all the knobs are in place. I do not have the key in it at this time. I take the key out and put it in the house over the summer to kind of as a safety feature. Our fuel shutoff is here. It's in the off position, which is where it's supposed to be over the summer. I'm going to turn it on and turn it off just to make sure it's working correctly, that there's nothing wrong with that. And let's move around to the other side of the engine. We're going to check. Electric start looks good. I'm going to push the electric start button. Everything seems to be functioning there normally. We'll try the electric start. When we put the machine away in the spring, we drop the belly pan and we grease the zerk behind the tire here that keeps the auto turn chain greased. And our gas lid is proper. We're going to make sure that that's opening and closing correctly, and it is. And then of course try the D handle on our pull start, and there is compression. I can feel it when I'm pulling, so everything looks good there. We'll move around to the handlebar area. Now I got underneath here and I sprayed all this stuff with a liquid lubricant before I put it away, so the drive clutch on this side is operating properly. We're going to try next here, we're going to try the chute. I'm going to try to zoom out a little bit, but I guess that's as far as I can get. We're going to try the chute. We're going to go left. We're going to go right. I helped a buddy set up his machine the other day, and he's got the exact same machine that I do. We bought them at the same time. We actually bought 3 of them together, and his chute would swing to the right fine, and about the last 5 degrees going left, it would hang up. So we had to do just a little bit of lubrication on that, and now it works great. So we make sure that that is working correctly, and it looks like that is functioning normally. We'll park it pointed forward. We're going to take our chute height adjustment now, which is this control here. We were just on this one, taking the chute side to side. Now you might have a crank on yours. If you have a crank on yours, then you need to check and make sure that that's operating. Ariens have a hanging chute, so you need to lubricate up in this area underneath, lubrication points here, and then lubrication points underneath that plastic housing. And again, you want to use a lubricant that's not affected by the cold. So you spraying something into those gears is a great idea, lubricant there. And also in the spring mechanism, that spring loads the height adjustment on the chute. And we're going to run the chute up and down and make sure everything is working smoothly there. The spring is functioning properly, and that chute it is locking in place. If it's not locking in place, there's a bolt inside here that you need to tighten to put more pressure on the spring. So if you are, for example, working and you have it in the all the way down position because you are next to a house or something like that and you want to throw the snow a very short distance and it pops out on you, it's because that spring down in there is not adjusted tight enough, and you need to tighten the nut. And I'm reaching my fingers around on the inside here, but you can't. Yeah, I guess you can see a little bit. The nut is right there. So we'll leave that in a kind of up position. I always like to store my machines with the chute pointing forward. When I take them out of the garage, when it's snowing, then if I hit the auger handle by mistake, then I don't end up with a load of snow in the corner of my garage that I got to take care of. And the other thing is, it takes up less space. It doesn't take up any extra space on the front of the machine to have it, because it does not overhang the bucket. But if you turn it to the side, especially if you turn it to the left, it does overhang almost, probably about 8-9 inches, something like that. So it requires more. And when I put this in the corner over there in the garage, and I'll back my truck in next to it, and I do not want that sharp chute facing my truck in case I get a little too close to it and I'm in a hurry because it's raining one night or whatever the case might be. So we leave it facing forward, and then of course we're going to just take a look at our gear selector here, and I'll switch hands so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to go just through the gears and make sure everything is working smoothly. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And this is something that I wish Ariens would do. And again, there's a spring on this. It's down in here. So if you have an issue with that being tight enough or popping out of gear, that's where the spring is that you need to, or where you need to make the adjustment. You simply need to tighten that spring. Ariens has 6 speeds in forward and 2 speeds in reverse. And almost every snowblower has that nowadays. But first gear is a good creeper gear on these machines, as it is my old Toro, as it is my old Simplicity. But instead of having 6 gears in forward, it would almost be better off to have 4 in forward and have that low, have a real slow creeper gear in there. It would be more useful in 6, because in 6, now I'm a 64-year-old guy, I can barely keep up to this thing walking down the street. So even if I'm using it to transport and I've got the bucket lifted off the ground and I'm going to a neighbor's house or something like that, 6 is just way too fast for me. I'd rather have the extra slow gear at the bottom end, and I've got this adjusted as slow as I can for first gear, and it works. It works great. But it would be nice in certain situations to really be able to slow down and have that creeper gear. So Ariens, if you're listening, that's what some of your customers are saying. So then we have our control handle for the auger, and we're going to press that down and make sure that's working. And each time we press these down, we also take a look at the cables underneath here. Make sure that they are operating correctly. Make sure that there are no nuts that are loose. And I lubricated everything down there, all the shafts and things like that when I put it away in the spring. So I really don't need to do anything there. I'll check the heated handlebars. When I fire the machine up, I'll turn them on, and then I'll be able to tell if they're warm or not. But basically, that's the walk around on this particular machine. And the Ariens Platinum SHO. And I know the newer machines have a different dash. They have an orange dash where it says Ariens on them. And I did replace the light last year with the LED light. But, you know, last year, if you like to blow snow and you like to use your snowblower, last year sucked. we got, at least where I live in southeastern Wisconsin here, you know, we got a couple of snowfalls last year. One was 6 inches, one was 8 inches. And that was really it. That's all I got to use this machine for, was those 2 small snowfalls. So it really did not. The year before, we got a ton of snow. Oh man, we got a couple 14 inches, 16 inches, you know, and I've got videos on my channel if you want to watch me blow that snow. So I really haven't had a chance to use the LED light at night in a real life situation. I did do a comparison video where I did a side-by-side shot of the old light against my garage door and the new LED light. The new LED light is brighter than the OEM. It has a better diffusion. It spreads better. And it appears to throw more quality white light to the area where you're working. You still get a little shadow from where the chute is. You're not going to get away from that unless you do like the, you know, in the Great Lakes edition and things like that. They all have an LED light down here. And I think on the Kraken and stuff like that, they actually have a light bar down there. I don't even know if Ariens sells those separately, but that would be something. But I have street lights here. That's the light on the back is plenty. I wish I had lights on my old snowblowers up north. But anyways, that's the kind of the walk around. And I will tomorrow, if it's a decent day, take the Platinum SHO outside. We'll check the oil. We'll put some gas in it. We'll put the key in it. And we'll fire this baby up and see if it'll start on the first pull like it usually does. Again, this is Bruce with Blowing Snow for Fun, and thanks for joining me, and we'll keep going. Spring, and I posted my maintenance video that I did on it, so you can take a look at what I did. But I use strictly non-ethanol fuel. I buy it up north, premium, and bring it back with me. That's all I run in my small engines. It makes a big difference. I run the gas out of the machine by shutting the fuel valve off and wait until it dies, and I choke it, pull it again, let it run out, and then I pull the small bolt on the outside of the carburetor bowl. You don't want to mess around with the one in the middle. That's the one that holds the bowl in place. There's one on an angle on the outside. You pull that out, it's got a little washer on. Take a little cup or even a paper towel. There's not a whole lot of gasoline in there. And drain that out. I put it away for the summer, something my father taught me. When you store a machine for a long period of time, you pull the handle until you feel resistance on it, and then the valves are closed, and you don't get air going in and out of any part of the engine while it's stored. So great tip there. I do that with my bolt motor. I do that with all my stuff when I store it. Everything's ready to go with the Ariens Platinum SHO for the first snow. You saw it started on the first pull. Usually I do 3 primes. I did 4 today because I knew I had an empty fuel bowl, and everything else looks good to go. I did a walk around. I checked it. I made sure all my controls were functioning. I checked my cables one last time outside here. You know, sometimes you can get some fraying and stuff like that in those cables, and there's times they just break, and there's nothing you can do about it. But do a nice visual on. Tried the machine at idle, brought it back up to full speed, ran good. Checked my chute one more time. Checked my heated hand grips. Left those on while I was running. Made sure that those got warm, and I didn't have any problems there. and everything's good to go with the Platinum SHO for the new season and the new snowfall. And the forecast is we might get some snow next week, Tuesday. That's a week from today here in Wisconsin. So I'm glad you were able to join me for the startup of the Platinum 24 SHO. And when that first snow comes, that's how it all starts for the year. I'll try to post as many videos as I can. Hope you enjoy them. If you do, subscribe to my channel and give me some likes, and I would appreciate that. And this is Bruce for Blowing Snow for fun. Have a great day.